If you've been hurt, manipulated, or humiliated by a narcissist, this message is for you. Have you ever wondered why revenge feels so tempting when someone destroys your peace? What really happens when you choose a different path? What if I told you there's something more powerful than getting even? I've walked alongside countless people who've suffered at the hands of narcissists. I've witnessed their journey from brokenness to breakthrough. What I'm sharing today isn't theory, it's transformation. Today, you'll discover why revenge keeps you trapped, how silence becomes your superpower, and why walking away is the ultimate victory. Your pain doesn't have to be permanent. Your story isn't over. Revenge is the chain that keeps you tied to the narcissist. Let me tell you about Sarah. She spent months planning how to expose her narcissistic ex. Screenshots, voice recordings, detailed timelines. She was going to show everyone who he really was. She was going to make him pay. But here's what happened instead. Every hour she spent planning revenge was an hour she stayed mentally connected to him. Every screenshot she saved was another piece of his toxicity living in her phone. Every scenario she imagined was him still controlling her thoughts. Sarah realized something powerful. Revenge wasn't freedom, it was just another form of bondage. When you're plotting against a narcissist, you're still dancing to their music. You're still letting them set the agenda for your life. You're still giving them real estate in your mind, rent-free. Think about it. While you're researching ways to hurt them back, they're probably not even thinking about you. They've moved on to their next victim. But you're stuck in yesterday's pain, planning tomorrow's revenge. Here's the brutal truth. Narcissists thrive on reaction. They feed on drama. When you plot revenge, you're giving them exactly what they want. You're proving you're still under their influence. But what if you could cut that cord completely? What if you could take back every ounce of mental energy you've been spending on them? I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself 6 months from now. In one scenario, you've spent those months fighting, plotting, trying to expose them. You're exhausted, bitter, and somehow they're still the main character in your story. In the other scenario, you've spent those months rebuilding, learning, growing, healing. You've created new friendships, new experiences, new joy. When someone mentions their name, you feel nothing. Not anger, not hurt, nothing. Which version of yourself sounds more like victory to you? The narcissist wants you to stay angry. They want you to stay connected through rage, because as long as you're focused on destroying them, you're not focused on building yourself. Breaking this cycle starts with a decision. A decision to stop giving them your energy, to stop letting them be the director of your thoughts, to stop allowing yesterday's pain to steal today's peace. This doesn't mean what they did was okay. This doesn't mean you're weak for walking away. This means you're strong enough to choose your own path instead of staying on the battlefield they created. The moment you decide to stop seeking revenge is the moment you start taking your power back. It's the moment you go from being their victim to being your own hero. You don't have to forgive them today. You don't have to understand them today. You just have to decide that your future matters more than their punishment. Because here's what I know for sure. The best revenge against a narcissist isn't exposing them. It's becoming so happy, so successful, so at peace that their chaos can't reach you anymore. I am not a prisoner of revenge. I choose freedom. Silence speaks louder than their insults. Marcus used to respond to every text, every accusation, every twisted story his narcissistic brother spread about him. Family gatherings became battlefields. Every conversation turned into a defense of his character. Then Marcus tried something revolutionary. He stopped responding. Not out of weakness, but out of strength. Not because he didn't have words, but because he realized his words were being used against him. The first time Marcus stayed silent during an attack, something beautiful happened. The narcissist had no ammunition, no reaction to twist, no emotion to manipulate. Just silence. And that silence drove the narcissist absolutely crazy. Here's why silence is your secret weapon. Narcissists need your reaction like oxygen. They thrive on emotional responses. Anger feeds them. Tears fuel them. Even your logical explanations become tools they use to hurt you more. But silence starves them. When you don't respond to their provocations, you're not giving them the drama they crave. When you don't defend yourself against their lies, you're not playing their game. When you don't engage with their chaos, you're not dancing to their tune. Silence isn't about being a doormat. It's about being powerful. It's about understanding that some battles aren't worth fighting because the opponent doesn't fight fair. Think about the last time you tried to reason with a narcissist. You presented facts, they twisted them. You shared feelings, they used them against you. You tried to find middle ground, they moved the goalposts. That's not a conversation, that's manipulation disguised as communication. Your silence becomes a mirror. When they're screaming and you're calm, everyone can see who the problem really is. When they're creating drama and you're choosing peace, the contrast becomes obvious. But silence isn't just powerful against them, it's healing for you. Every time you choose not to respond, you're choosing not to let their chaos live in your head. Every time you stay quiet, you're protecting your peace. Every time you refuse to engage, you're refusing to let them steal another moment of your life. I know staying silent feels wrong sometimes. You want to defend yourself. You want to set the record straight. You want them to understand your side. But here's what I've learned. You can't reason with unreasonable people. You can't have a rational conversation with someone who's rewriting reality as they go. Your truth doesn't need their validation. Your worth doesn't require their approval. Your story doesn't need their permission to be real. Silence doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. It means you understand that some people don't deserve your words. Some situations don't deserve your energy. Some battles don't deserve your time. When you master the art of silence, you master the art of self-protection. You become untouchable, not because nothing can hurt you, but because you've learned to choose what deserves your response. The narcissist will try everything to break your silence. They'll accuse you of being cold, dramatic, immature. They'll escalate their behavior trying to get a reaction. Stay silent anyway. Your peace is worth more than their approval. My peace is more powerful than their chaos. Their fall is not in your hands. It's inevitable. Remember the story of Joseph? Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown in prison. If anyone had a right to seek revenge, it was him. But Joseph understood something profound. He didn't need to orchestrate his brother's downfall. He just needed to focus on his own rise. Years later, when famine struck and his brothers came begging for food, Joseph had the power to destroy them. Instead, he chose mercy, not because they deserved it, but because he had learned that bitterness was beneath him. Here's what Joseph knew that we often forget. Justice doesn't always look like punishment. Sometimes justice looks like protection. Sometimes it looks like closed doors. Sometimes it looks like consequences catching up naturally. You don't have to be the one to bring a narcissist down. Life has a way of doing that all by itself. Think about it. Narcissists build their lives on lies, manipulation, and fake relationships. That's not a sustainable foundation. Eventually, the house of cards collapses. Eventually, people see through the mask. Eventually, the consequences catch up. But while you're waiting for that natural justice to unfold, you have a choice. You can spend your days bitter, angry, and obsessed with their downfall, Or you can spend your days building, growing, and becoming the person you were meant to be. I've seen narcissists who seemed untouchable finally face their consequences. Lost jobs because their behavior caught up with them, lost relationships because people got tired of the drama, lost credibility because their lies stopped making sense. But I've also seen their victims waste years of their lives waiting for that moment. Years they could have spent healing. Years they could have spent loving. Years they could have spent living. Here's the truth about waiting for justice. When you're focused on their punishment, you're not focused on your purpose. When you're watching for their fall, you're not watching for your opportunities. The most powerful thing you can do is trust that truth has a way of surfacing. Trust that actions have consequences. Trust that what's done in darkness eventually comes to light. But don't put your life on hold waiting for it to happen. David could have killed Saul when he had the chance. He had the opportunity. He had the justification. Instead, he chose to let divine justice handle it. And David became king not through revenge, but through righteousness. Your job isn't to be their judge, jury, and executioner. Your job is to be faithful to your own growth, your own healing, your own future. When you release the need to see them punished, you free yourself to see your own blessings. When you stop watching for their downfall, you start working toward your breakthrough. This doesn't mean you're naive. This doesn't mean you don't protect yourself. This means you understand that some battles belong to forces bigger than you. Place their judgment in higher hands. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to know that vengeance belongs to justice itself, not to you. Justice belongs to something greater than me. I trust the process. The narcissist tried to erase you, but they couldn't change who you really are. Linda came to me completely shattered. After 3 years with a narcissist, she didn't recognize herself in the mirror. "I used to be confident," she whispered. "I used to know who I was. Now, I don't even know if my own thoughts are real." That's exactly what narcissists do. They don't just hurt you, they try to erase you. They rewrite your history, question your memory, and make you doubt your own reality. But here's what Linda discovered and what I want you to understand. They can distort your perception, but they cannot change your essence. They can confuse your mind, but they cannot corrupt your soul. They can damage your confidence, but they cannot destroy your core. Who you are isn't determined by how they treated you. Your value isn't measured by their lies. Your worth isn't defined by their manipulation. You are not too sensitive. You're sensitive enough to recognize love and feel its absence. You are not too emotional. You're human enough to respond to betrayal with appropriate pain. You are not too needy. You're brave enough to ask for what every person deserves: respect, honesty, and genuine care. You are not crazy. You're intelligent enough to recognize when something doesn't make sense. Every accusation they made against you was a reflection of their own insecurities. Every criticism was a projection of their own flaws. Every attempt to diminish you was actually proof of how threatened they were by your light. Think about who you were before them. Remember that person. They're still there, underneath the doubt and confusion. They're still there, waiting to be rediscovered. You had dreams before them. You had opinions before them. You had joy before them. You had strength before them. And all of those things are still yours to reclaim. The narcissist wanted you to believe that you were nothing without them. That's the biggest lie they ever told. The truth is, they were nothing without your energy, your kindness, your love. You were the source. They were just the drain. Reclaiming your identity isn't about going back to who you were. It's about integrating who you've become. You're not the same person you were before the narcissist, and that's actually beautiful. You're wiser now. You're stronger now. You're more discerning now. You know what real love looks like because you've experienced what it's not. You know what healthy boundaries look like because you've lived without them. You know what genuine respect feels like because you've endured its opposite. Start small. Remember one thing you loved about yourself before them. Maybe it was your laugh. Maybe it was your creativity. Maybe it was your compassion. Find that one thing and nurture it back to life. Then remember another thing, and another. Piece by piece, rebuild the beautiful mosaic of who you are. The narcissist tried to convince you that you were broken. But what if you're not broken? What if you're just bruised? What if underneath all that pain is still the same amazing person you always were? Your identity belongs to you, not to them. Not to their opinions, not to their version of your story. Take it back. I am worthy. I am strong. I am enough. Impact line. Real victory isn't watching them fall. It's walking free while they stay trapped in their own emptiness. 2 years after leaving her narcissistic husband, Janet ran into him at a coffee shop. She braced herself for the familiar anxiety, the old triggers, the rush of painful memories. Instead, she felt nothing. Not anger, not hurt, not even satisfaction. Just a quiet recognition that she was looking at someone who belonged to her past, not her present. That's what real victory looks like. Not the dramatic moment where they get their comeuppance, not the day when everyone finally sees their true nature, not the satisfaction of watching them suffer. Real victory is the quiet moment when you realize they no longer have power over your emotions. It's the day you stop checking their social media. It's the morning you wake up and don't think about them at all. Real victory is building a life so beautiful that their chaos feels foreign to it. It's creating relationships so healthy that their manipulation tactics seem absurd. It's finding peace so deep that their drama can't disturb it. While they're still playing the same games with new victims, you're playing an entirely different game. While they're still trapped in patterns of hurt and manipulation, you're free to love and be loved authentically. The narcissist's punishment isn't something you need to orchestrate. Their punishment is being themselves. Their punishment is living in a world where genuine connection is impossible for them. Their punishment is never experiencing the depth of love that comes from being truly known and accepted. But your reward? Your reward is everything they'll never have. Genuine relationships, inner peace, self-respect, authentic joy, the ability to trust and be trusted, the capacity to love without fear. You don't have to stay bitter to prove you were hurt. You don't have to remain angry to validate your pain. You don't have to carry hatred to honor your experience. Bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It doesn't hurt them. It only hurts you. It keeps you trapped in a prison where they still have the keys. But freedom? Freedom means you've taken the keys back. Freedom means you get to decide how you feel, where you go, who you love, and how you live. I've seen people waste decades waiting for their narcissist to change, to apologize, to acknowledge the pain they caused. But narcissists don't change. They don't apologize sincerely. They don't acknowledge anything that doesn't serve them. Your healing doesn't depend on their recognition. Your victory doesn't require their defeat. Your peace doesn't need their permission. Walk away and walk forward. Build something beautiful. Love someone worthy. Create joy that they can't touch. Develop strength they can't shake. Find peace they can't disturb. That's not just victory. That's freedom. That's not just winning. That's living. The best response to their toxicity isn't more toxicity. It's transformation. It's becoming so healthy, so happy, so whole that their dysfunction seems like a foreign language you no longer speak. Your victory is your freedom. Your freedom is your life. And your life is waiting for you to fully live it. My victory is my freedom. I don't look back. The narcissist does not have the final word over your life. Their version of your story is not the truth. Their judgment of your worth is not valid. Their attempt to break you was not successful. You are still here. You are still fighting. You are still believing in something better. And that makes you a warrior, not a victim. Your greatest victory won't be their destruction. It will be your reconstruction. It won't be their fall. It will be your rise. It won't be their punishment. It will be your peace. If this message spoke to your heart, drop in the comments. I choose freedom over revenge. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that their story isn't over. It's just beginning. You are not alone in this journey. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not defined by what they did to you. You are powerful. You are worthy. You are free to write the next chapter of your story. And that chapter, it's going to be beautiful.